Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and welcome to PlayLoad. This is all my video game pickups for the month of September 2024. And before we get into this, I apologize in advance. I am very tired. You probably hear it in my voice. I just got off a red eye coming in from Portland, Oregon for PRGE. I have not slept yet, but I wanted to make sure you got this video before I had my rest. So, that said, let's go ahead and talk about all the cool stuff we have video games pickups wise. But before we do that though, if you don't mind, can you guys like the video, comment down below, subscribe if you've never done that before, as well as check out all my social media stuff in the description: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, Spreadshirt, Travel Channel. I appreciate the support on all those platforms. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, speaking of my travel channel, the first thing up here is not strictly video game related, but I think it's just something anybody could kind of relate to possibly needing. And this is why I'm saying this so bluntly. I think that a lot of stuff that's happening now is being sent to me because of my travel channel, because a lot of the stuff I'm getting is like stuff to make filming on the go, which is what I've been doing a lot of for that, easier. But that also includes, of course, this channel, because I've been doing more and more videos where I'm like, oh, let's go game hunting in this place or that place or whatever. So for those who just want a peek behind the scenes, in this space, it is very easy, relatively speaking, to make content. You know, I have my computer rig is in there, so I can edit the videos. Camera's obviously right there. Everything's kind of here. But when you're on the go, you kind of have to bring certain elements, and if I can condense those down, like I've been showing, you know, a little portable SSD I was sent that makes archiving footage on the go easier, better cables to reduce the amount that I actually need, etc., etc. So this, I'm pretty sure, kind of gets its genesis in that. This is from a company called Taurus. They sent me something called the Taurus Flex Line. Now, from my understanding of what this device is, it's basically a power brick, but it has kind of like two, it kind of has a slightly obvious difference here. Also, again, I do apologize. I have not slept yet, so if I'm not 100% there, I'm sorry. But anyway, so inside we have this this little power brick. It's actually pretty well packaged. First thing up you see is a manual and a little card that says Taurus Care, Wonder, Explore, Forward, which is probably their slogan. And then inside is just kind of the meat and potatoes of it, which is the power brick. In full disclosure, they did send this to me for free for the purposes of review. And I just thought I'd give them a shout out for doing that. Sometimes this stuff just kind of shows up. But like, anyway, so inside, because you can see it, I didn't even open it up in a package. It was just kind of sent to me. I didn't know what it was, so I opened it up and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So basically what it is it's a power brick, right? So it has a little like part there you flip over, you can connect. What makes it kind of interesting though is that it has basically 2 points of entry. One is a standard USB-C port, so you just use this power brick and you have your own USB-C cable you can plug into that. But on the other hand, if you don't have one, it basically comes with one. It's like a 3-foot cable that just kind of pops out, and that's it. You can plug your device in case you forgot your cable. And it does support simultaneous charging, so you can, you know, basically connect 2 devices at once. I like this little rollaway cable. It's like you get it to the 3 feet and then you're like, oh, snap it back up. Again, for portability and on the go, when you're like, oh, we gotta go, and like the plane's landed, oh, I fell asleep, which unfortunately I didn't really get to do. It would be nice to be like, oh, we gotta go, and then boom, done, ready to go. So that was really cool. But yeah, there's, you know, it's kind of it's plastic casing, and it seems solid enough. I'll show it here in action. It seems to be doing, you know, I'm gonna guess, just it does perfectly fine with my phone. This is not the kind of thing you want to use with, like, say, the Nintendo Switch, just because Nintendo is weird. But like this thing, it supports 40 watts, you know, so it's gonna be able to power, like, you know, your phone, your laptop, or whatever all at the same time. Or if you're using anything, I know a lot of us are kind of trying to put USB-C as a standardization into a lot of even mods and stuff like that. So you'd be able to power 2 things at once. So yeah, this is neat, but especially for portability and on the go. If you forgot your cable, they basically included one, or you have 2 devices. You need, like, if you're an iPhone user, you can plug in the USB-C on one end and have like Lightning on the other, while still having another port available for whatever devices you might need. So yeah, there you go. Very cool. Thank you very much to the people at Taurus for sending that my way. And again, there will be a link in the description down there if you want to check it out. So the rest of this is all video game stuff, or at least video game promo stuff in some cases. But what we have here, this one kind of goes back a minute. So this month, I was, as I tend to be, I was traveling all over the place, right? One of the places I went to was Atlanta. And my buddy, the Atlanta Dave, who is super famous for being from Atlanta, obviously everybody knows him, he had gone to Japan back in like January. And when he was there, he found something I wanted, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll pick that up for you." And then, I obviously paid him back and everything. But I told him, don't bother shipping it because I'll inevitably see you at something. So when I went down to Atlanta, he let me crash at his place, and he just handed me the thing. So what is it? In celebration, of course, this month on September 9th, 1999. Well, if you're watching this, if it's still September. No, it'll be October by the time you see this anyway, so it makes no difference. But it was the Dreamcast 25th birthday. So we have a Dreamcast VMU, but this one is a special Japanese one. A green one. It says Godzilla on it. Now, I have one very similar to this. They did a big promo for the 98 Godzilla movie in Japan before they realized how bad that movie was. But what's cool about this one is the bottom is a little different. It says Toyo Susan. So it's a special variant of a variant, which is just bizarre. And it has like a little sticker, a green sticker on the back that talks about rights reserved from Toho. So as a Godzilla fan, this is just like a really cool thing. It combines Godzilla and it combines Dreamcast, so that's really awesome. So huge shout out to the Atlanta Dave for finding that for me. Appreciate it. Now, we have OG Xbox games. So, I also took a trip out to New Hampshire. New Hampshire is one of the states in the U.S. that has no sales tax. For foreigners especially, I'm going to throw this and make you guys sad. There is no American federal sales tax. It literally is defined by every single state, and then there's the county, and then there's the city. So in some parts of the country, it gets as high as, like, I think American Samoa has the worst at, like, 15%. But the most, like, outside of them, majority of the countries, like, its absolute ceiling is, like, 10. On average, it's about 6%. But there are certain parts of the country where it's 0. So like Guam, another U.S. territory, is 0. Alaska, Oregon, New Hampshire, Delaware, all 0. Apparently Montana is 0. I didn't know that, but they have no sales tax either. So I was in New Hampshire, and my buddy Megalink was like, yeah, let's go do a bunch of adventuring stuff. We'll go to the first Dunkin' Donuts, because why wouldn't we do that? And we'll go shopping and stuff too. So we did some game hunting. There's going to be an entire game hunting video on like stores we hit up in New Hampshire. However, that said, I didn't buy a lot of stuff. In fact, I only got one thing. But I was happy to not pay sales tax on it. And it was something I needed, and you guys possibly already know what it is. For the OG Xbox, Dead or Alive 3. Now, why do I bring that up as something you might already know? This game is all kinds of borked, is what I've kind of realized. This is my third copy of this game. Now, the first copy I had worked fine on my original Xbox for a while. And then Microsoft actually made this game backwards compatible with the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X. So when I was using an Xbox One, I put it in, it would struggle to read it a little bit, but then it, downloaded the game because it just detects the disc and downloads the files through backwards compatibility. Fine. Now, at one random point, I went through my Xbox Series X and realized like half the OG Xbox games were missing. So I decided to go back and reinstall them, thanks Digital Future. Now, what they weren't actually missing, the data was still there. It's just that basically, like, if you use an Xbox Series X or an Xbox One, if you go to your game section, there's just tile cards for everything. Tiles. The tile cards for a bunch of, I'm just going to call them that, for a bunch of OG Xbox games were missing. And so I was like, well, that's really stupid. So I would put the disc in, and it would reinstall by basically just doing a 0 kilobyte update where, the tile card just appears again. Okay, fine. And it worked for all of them except for 2. One was Star Wars Starfighter, for some reason wouldn't read, and Dead or Alive 3. I was able to buy a new disc for Star Wars Starfighter, and I was fine. So I was like, okay, cool, that one's done. And at Kansas City Retro, I got that. And I found another copy of Dead or Alive 3, and I was like, all right, I'll do that too. That one wouldn't read either, and I was like, why? So I found a third one. This one does work, but where this whole thing gets even more convoluted than I thought is it turns out I'm not alone. There's 2 bugs here, 2 separate ones. Turns out, it seems like a lot of the original press run of this game in particular, the original, this is like an early, if not launch title for the system. Horrifyingly, a lot of copies don't seem to work anymore, because I had 2 copies that didn't read on the Series X or the Xbox One anymore, and they stopped working on the OG Xbox. And when I did that video, a bunch of people were telling me the same thing. Like, I went to test mine, yeah, it doesn't work anymore. Something about that pressing may not be good. This one's fine, though. However, it gets even dumber, because even if you have a copy that does work, like this one, turns out the Series X specifically, not the Xbox One base model or X Series, Xbox One X, thanks to Microsoft for naming conventions, it doesn't help a tired guy. Xbox Series X specifically, when you put this disc in, it won't say it doesn't understand what the disc is. It'll say some other interest, like some thing about, oh, I can't grab the data or something like that, as an error message. And you'll be like, why won't it just launch? And so what you end up doing is you go into this, you keep the disc in, apologies if you hear sirens, you go into this digital store of the Xbox while your disc is in, and it's the Xbox Series X is saying, hey, I don't recognize that. Go to the digital storefront, find Dead or Alive 3, and instead of saying $14.99, it'll say install. You click it there, and then it reinstalls. You have two bugs. One that's the actual disc, and one that's the Xbox Series X having a patch-out problem they haven't bothered to fix. Makes it a uniquely annoying game to get. But anyway, I did get it, and I got it in New Hampshire. So thank you to Megalink for that. And again, there will be a whole adventure through New Hampshire video, looking for video games and stuff. Yeah, again, apologies if you hear sirens. One of the things that sucks for me is I love Chicago, but I am centrally located basically between a hospital, a police station, and a fire department. So the sirens you hear can be, it's a lottery. Which one is it? I don't know, and I don't care, but it's just annoying for video purposes. Now, let's move on. So pretty much, I think everything else here came from Portland Retro Game Expo. I was a guest at the con, so they brought me out, the hotel and all that fun stuff. So we'll start with Xbox just to stick with the theme. But basically, I'm still chipping away at my original Xbox complete set goal. It might be the last system I get a complete set for, maybe, debatably. But yeah, nothing really super crazy. It's just some stuff. We got Tiger Woods PGA Tour 07, Outlaw Golf, which I was a little surprised to find I didn't have, because the thing is there's a sequel, then there's the blockbuster Christmas ones, and there's so much Outlaw Golf. I just thought I had the original, but I guess I didn't. And then the two ones that actually were better, Metal Slug 4 and 5 Collection, as well as Metal Slug 3. I will point out that in the US, and maybe Canada too, I would assume as well in Canada, Metal Slug 4 and 5 was packaged as a single release. If you are a big Metal Slug guy or a girl, there is actually in Europe they got separate releases. Metal Slug 4 was its own thing, Metal Slug 5 was its own thing on the OG Xbox, but here it was bundled together. So, fun little worthless factoid. So, it actually is kind of annoying because some people consider them separate releases, even though it's not, it's actually two discs. So it's not like it's one disc with both games and those are two separate discs. They've just decided to bundle it into one thing. That's all. Okay, cool. Now, let's move on to other stuff. So, as I mentioned, I was a guest, so they gave me my own badge. I got the exhibitor badge. There was a guest badge. They do the same thing, so it makes really no difference. And I also just picked up some pamphlets and paperwork that I thought was kind of interesting. The PCFX 30th Anniversary Club was there. Basically, just kind of, we're here to say we exist. They were very cool about it. I took a photo with them. They posted it somewhere. But yeah, anyway, so PCFX, don't forget they exist. So they have a fan club if you want to join them. If you are like, I'm a big PCFX person, where are my people? They exist. I assure you, they exist. My buddy Tim Kitzrow. You guys would know him as the voice of NBA Jam and From Downtown, that guy, as well as NFL Blitz from back in the day, MLB Slugfest. Tim's done a ton of voice work. He's working on a new game called The Legends of Boom. And he just signed this for me. Again, he's my friend, but it was just cool that he was like, oh yeah, here, Adam, here, take that. So there you go. If you want to check out a new game called Legends of Boom, he is the narrator of it. It's from what it looked like, I just saw photos, but it looked kind of like a strategy game that he's doing the commentary for, which is nice. You guys know Radical Reggie of the Metal Jesus crew. He was cool enough to sell me something pretty neat that I thought was just kind of bizarre. This is the Resident Evil D-Make collection from a group called Project Retro Games. Now what this is they basically, I don't know an extensive amount of the history on this, but basically somebody took the time to do D-Makes of various Resident Evil games. So this is Resident Evil 0, known as N64 Remake. Because this one I know a little bit more about. Basically, the original version of this game was in development for the N64, and then they ended up, kind of scrapping that and moving on to the GameCube version. This one seems to compile as many of the elements together as possible to make a fully operational version of, Resident Evil 0, but oddly enough for the PS1, not the N64. It's incredibly beautifully done. It almost looks real. So the bottom is black discs, but these are not pressed. These are actually CDRs. You can tell the difference if you hold it up to some light. It'll actually look purple through, that's because that's a CDR. There were black bottom CDRs. So this one, yeah, it's just a nice packaging, and I was like, that's really cool. It also has a remake of Resident Evil Outbreak, as well as Resident Evil 4 Mercenaries, which is not necessarily Resident Evil 4. It's like a sub-mode within Resident Evil 4, if I remember correctly. But this set is rather expensive, but Reggie basically just cut me like an extreme bro deal. I'll just be honest. It's a $150 set, and he sold to me for $60, which was very nice of him to do. It also includes a poster. Now, you might be wondering, so these games just working on a PlayStation? Sort of. They are PlayStation compatible. You have to have a modded PlayStation. So you have to have one with like a mod chip, or actually the easiest way to play these is if you have a PS3 and you just do like a digital hack on it, you know, like PS3 with Hen or whatever, load that up. Then from there, it'll be able to play these. So I was playing this one a little bit. I didn't have much time, obviously, because again, I just got off the plane, more or less. But yeah, this was kind of fun to test. And it's also like they did things creatively. They grabbed, you know, the video files from the GameCube version, just compressed them so they would run. They clearly took background assets from the GameCube version, but then character models from like the N64 prototype, and it looks like a lot of work was done on this. Now, I'm no expert on the actual like game, the demakes themselves, but as a Resident Evil fan, I just thought this was cool, so I was like, yeah, that's all right. My buddy Marcus had a bunch of vinyl, and I decided to pick some up. This is not video games, but you guys are nerds. We are nerds. I mean, I hate to break it to you, you're a nerd. I am too. There's a lot of us. It's okay. Oh, I didn't mean to get sticky stuff on this, but yeah, it's fine. Yeah, we're nerds. Let's just be real about it. So, as fellow nerds, you might appreciate this. We have vinyl records for the score to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie, the first one. This one has the better music as like an overall score. I'm not a huge music guy. I'm not a huge vinyl guy, but oddly enough, I like vinyl soundtracks of like movies and video games. Like that's. And this goes back years, and I have no idea if he still watches the channel, but this is totally the fault of a guy named Spock Avriel, who sent me a vinyl record player years ago, and ever since I've been able to enjoy that. So, yeah, this just has the score of it, which is nice. And then he also sold me the Ninja Turtles 2 movie one, Secret of the Ooze. This one, I was like, oh, alright, that's cool, and I was like, yeah, there is a reason I want this. I am in the minority of people who really loves Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go, the ninja rap. I know it's dumb, but I love it, and I'm looking forward to hearing it on vinyl. So, yeah, huge shout out to my buddy Marcus for hooking me up with that. Now, we got a couple of promo items. First and foremost, we actually have this. This is a Portland Retro Game Expo themed water bottle. This was given out to anybody who did panels. I did 2, so I ended up with 2. I actually gave one away. It's still got Oregon water in it, because I filled it up at the airport. Actually, see, I'll prove it to you. I can drink out of it right now. See? Yay, water. But anyway, yeah, so that's just a little promo item, which is nice of them to do. Yeah, I gave 2 panels. One, you might have seen some of the footage of already, and you will see more of later. I'm just going to spoil it. Look at this photo. Look at all the stuff in this photo. You are seeing the Sega Pluto, you are seeing the Atari Graduate, you are seeing the Nintendo PlayStation prototype, now known more effectively as the PlayStation Zero. Yeah, and the other stuff there, by the way, is pretty interesting too. We have like the first mouse ever from 1967 prototype. Like I had access to all this stuff, right? Oh, and the Atari Jaguar dental equipment. So there's going to be videos coming up on all this stuff that I was able to film in Portland. Obviously they don't exist yet, but they will. So I did a panel on that subject. And I think I have to see all the footage, but I think maybe I'll actually release that panel as a video, like on this channel, as opposed to sometimes I take my panels and I just kind of throw them on my unlisted channel and make them public to whoever cares. That one's kind of special. So footage of that has been kind of going around because I was able to re-unearth, if you will, the Nintendo PlayStation prototype, at least for a few hours. So that was fun. But anyway, it's just a tangent because I want to talk about the water bottle, I guess. Some other promo items I got some stuff from, so this is, I can't pronounce it because I can't speak Portuguese, but this is Channel 3 Classic Gaming, or it reads to me as an American as Channel 3, but I 100% know that's not the pronunciation. They were cool enough to give me a hat right there and a little cup. Now, so what they are is actually a convention in Sao Paulo, Brazil. This is a possibility that I will be at this convention in 2025. There's by no means any sort of confirmation on that. If you are Brazilian and you are out there, and if you ever want to meet me and have me at a con in Brazil, contact these guys and tell them, because that's basically how it works. That people are like, oh, you want to see that guy? Yeah, we can make that happen. So that's up to you. But even if that doesn't happen, or I don't go to the con or whatever, just nice to these guys who, to hook me up with that. So thank you very much. And speaking of Brazilian stuff, my buddy NT Games, you should check out his channel as well. Yeah, he was cool enough to also give me a hat right there. Hey, I actually was on his panel as well. So he did a panel on like the history of Brazilian video game consoles and like how the whole timeline down there is totally different, etc. Hence, I had a second water bottle. But afterwards, sorry again about the sirens. But afterwards, we did the panel and everything, and he basically... So here's a funny story. My flight out originally was set for 4 o'clock, because he was like, yeah, the panel's at 1. And I was like, okay, I can do the panel, and then after that, I just basically hightail it. Again, really sorry about sirens. That's when I said, it's centrally located between 3. This happens from time to time. So the panel was supposed to happen at 1. It ends up being at 2. And I was like, dude, I can't do it, because like if if I'm stuck here till 3, there's no chance I can get out to the airport in time. And so I ended up deciding to delay my flight until midnight, hence this. So that I could do his panel. And I think he didn't have to do this, but I think he felt a little bad. So afterwards, he just gave me this. And you're like, oh, it's a Sega Genesis, it's whatever. No, this is a Brazilian Sega Mega Drive 3. It's from Tectoy. So it's, it's got its own inspired, if you will, Genesis 6-button controller. It actually, in the plastic, is hard molded, saying Tectoy and everything. And then the system itself also has a hardwire in the back. It does support composite. I genuinely don't know if it supports RGB. But the power cable is hardwired. He included a little adapter, so it does actually work here with no voltage issues. It also has RF support, not that we're going to use that. It's noticeably lighter than a standard Genesis. Interestingly, it does have like this little plastic bit for the Sega CD, but there's just nothing in there. Like, it doesn't have the board or anything. You can't actually connect it to a Sega CD. Objectively speaking, this would be like one of the worst ways to play the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, but it's just cool because it's actually completely official. The Sega hardware down there is actually official, and it's just like this unique alternate timeline, but that's their Mega Drive 3. So, very cool. Thank you very much for that to NT Games. Now, here's the big surprise, or the big cool things at the very end that I like to do. One thing was just a little bit of a shocker to me, and I was just happy to pick it up. So I like my demo discs for stuff, especially, it depends on the console, but with some of them I'm just like, like PlayStation stuff, honestly, there's so many demos, I just don't collect it enough to get into it. This was an exception. I found a sealed demo disc for Titan AE. Now, why does that matter? 2 reasons. One, this is based on a movie from 2000. I love that movie. Like, I saw it in theaters 3 times, which makes me the only person to have seen that movie in theaters. But I loved it. It was phenomenal to me. I was like the right age. It was the right material. I just think it's great. It's a movie that is just languished. It hasn't been brought back in any real capacity. I think in Europe it's on Disney Plus, but here it's not. It has no Blu-ray release, nothing like that. It hasn't seen any sort of home media release since its original 2000 DVD. So it originally was going to have a video game for the PlayStation, but that game was canceled when the movie flopped. They just decided not to bother with the rest of it. So the only thing that ever made it out was this. This is just a demo disc for an unreleased game. Now, this is not like some crazy rare thing where it's like thousands of dollars. Like this, I got this for like a few bucks. I just happened to find it there. But yeah, if you find it online, it's not like crazy expensive. It's just that it's cool to me for those 2 reasons. It actually kind of bums me out that it's sealed, because I'd actually kind of like to, try the disc. I mean, the files are online. It's not like I couldn't dump it or whatever, or grab them and do it another way. But especially because you need, like I said, you need a PS1 that can read, burned stuff, or PS3 or PS2 that can read stuff like that. So if you have that capacity, you probably have the capacity to play something like this too. But that said, just very cool, and for me, I really wanted that. And then the rest of this, you see these 5 golden cases. These are not all mine, but yeah, here's basically what happened. So my buddy, Carl, who runs Songbird Productions, they are guys who do a lot of indie stuff for various Atari hardware like Jaguar, Lynx, etc. They also kind of fell into the Nuon, because the Nuon is kind of an odd spiritual successor to the Atari Jaguar. If you don't know what the Nuon is, shame on you, but don't feel bad, because really I didn't know for the longest time. When you think about the 6th generation, you know, the Dreamcast, you know, for example, and you got the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube and the Xbox, etc. There's actually a 5th system called the VM Labs Nuon. VM Labs was mostly comprised of former Atari people. And I've done videos on this, but long story short, they kind of, like, so if you take the PlayStation 2's business model, it was, let's give everybody a video game console with a DVD player in it. So that you saw the PlayStation as a brand, and by the way, Mom, Dad, it has a DVD player in it, so everybody gets a cheap DVD player. The Nuon was like the exact opposite mentality. At the time, it was like, oh, DVDs are brand new. Let's get on that. Let's have a DVD player. And it's got a bonus feature of a video game console in it. That way, the parents can be like, all right, we bought this newfangled DVD player. Oh, and little Billy can play, you know, some games on it or whatever. Bad way to approach it, because it just made it look like a DVD player that was far more expensive than the other competitors. And of course, PS2 just slaughtered it for that reason. But that said, it did actually have some games released. The games are comically rare because there's only 8 ever made, one of which was exclusive to South Korea. So there's only 7 games actually released in North America. Now, Songbird managed to get the rights to reissue some of the games over time. They reissued Iron Soldier 3, they reissued Free Fall, they reissued Tempest 3000, which is the game the system's really known for, because it's definitely the best game on the system and still lives and dies on it. But there were other games, and he had basically posted publicly that, like, hey, everybody, I found some new old stock Nuon stuff. And in talking to him, he's like, yeah, basically, like, just somebody came in and had, like, a few, you know, copies of each, just new old stock, and didn't want to deal with it. So I'm not trying to get rich here. I'm going to make a little money off of, you know, what I paid him, but then, you know, it's much cheaper than it would be to try and find it elsewhere. So yes, this is actually a stack of new old stock Nuon games. Now, I only bought 2 of these, and I was done at that point. But I posted in my Discord, and people in my Discord, there are Nuon fans in there, I swear. Like, you know, there are PCFX fans, there are Nuon fans. And the Nuon fans were like, I want, you know, because they were just freaking out. So this is just a compilation of everybody's stuff. We got... this is actually Free Fall 3050, which we had mentioned before. This one's not mine. So shout out to Minnesota Roadie in my Discord, because this is his. He wanted because this one was reissued. It's also not super hard to find, but a brand new sealed copy of it, no doubt, is. So he wanted that, and that's no problem. Then we also have Merlin Racing. We actually have 2 copies of it, and the reason we have 2 copies of it, one is mine, and one belongs to Minnesota Roadie. And Merlin Racing is an interesting one because it is the sequel to Atari Karts for the Jaguar. Again, it was former Atari employees who were working on this stuff. I think there is actually a version of this on the PS1. It's one of the better games on the system, which really doesn't say much. It's not a great game, but it's like a game. You know what I mean? It's like that level. But that said, it's a sealed Nuon game. Like, these things are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So, again, this wasn't, like, crazy cheap or anything, but Carl cut us deals compared to what they actually sell for. So, happy to get that. And then, also, Space Invaders XL. Now, Space Invaders, this one sold out the fastest. There were only 3 copies of Merlin Racing and 3 copies of this, so literally I got 2 and 2. But not for me. I'm only keeping 1. And then my buddy Captain Potato, who's in the Discord as well, found out about it. But he actually attended PRG, so he immediately ran to the booth to go get the other 2 copies. But yeah, so this is Space Invaders XL. This may never, like, so I'll be honest with you, Carl's trying to reissue as many of the Nuon games as he can. The problem is, of course, licensing. You can't just do this. You need to have permission. Space Invaders is a weird situation because Taito owns it, and Taito, you know, doesn't really see value, I would assume, in reissuing stuff on the Nuon, whereas some of the other games that have been reissued is just like, the original dev still owns the rights. I think that's what happened with Iron Soldier 3, so he was like, yeah, I don't care, go ahead, just cut me a check, done. I think Atari themselves was like, Tempest 3000, check, and we don't do anything, go ahead. Taito, I think this might be not to their interest. But that said, I was happy to get one. So the other one doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to Minnesota Roadie. One of these copies ends up going to a buddy of mine named Snowman, who's also in my Discord. So, yeah, there you go. Did you ever think you were going to see a stack of new old stock Nuon games? Look at that. That's crazy. And what's even crazier is that I just never saw the Nuon when I was a kid. Like, it was only around at Best Buy in 2000. That was it. Like, the summer of 2000, that was it. And when it got discontinued, like, these games were like 50 cents. They just wanted them gone. If I had known, man, if I had known. The thing is, even as a kid, even a video game enthusiast and reading the video game magazines and all that stuff, never heard of it. Never. And that says a lot about how bad their marketing was. But anyway, that will do it. So if you guys could do me a favor, please like the video, comment down below, subscribe if you've never done that before. I appreciate it. Huge shout out to Carl for, you know, bringing these to the show so that we get that. Obviously, NT Games for hooking me up with this. For Canal, I have no idea how to pronounce it. I don't pretend to speak Portuguese. Shout out for them. Shout out to Reggie. Shout out to Marcus. Shout out to Tim Kitzrow. Shout out to PRGE as a whole. Thank you for having me there. And shout out to the people at Taurus for hooking me up with that. Again, link in the description if you want to check that out. So, without further ado, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Do me a favor, please like the video, comment down below, subscribe if you've never done that before, check out all the social media stuff in the description, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon, Spreadshirt, Travel Channel, etc. Appreciate the support. Thank you so much for watching. And oh yeah, one more thing. We're going to have whole videos on the return of the Nintendo PlayStation, aka PlayStation Zero. So definitely stay tuned. Thank you so much. I'll see you all later.